Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we will be talking about the movie Hercules. Now Hercules is a movie about a god, a Greek god, and his father is Hades. Wait, okay. Now Hercules is a story about a Greek god, and we get introduced to Hercules by the narrator, but we meet the muses, and the muses tell us the story of Hercules in song form. And man, those muses can sing. So Hercules is a god by birth, and he and his father is Hades. So, when he was a baby, he was kidnapped by Hades' brother Zeus. So, Zeus and Zeus's minions wanted to take his brother away. So on the eve of his birthday, or I don't know, celebration. So the eve of his celebration birthday thing, Hades comes to give him a sucker, and then Hades' finger gets bit, and then he says, "Oh, you're a powerful little one." And then his brother Zeus says, "Oh, come on, Hades, join the party. Don't be such a stiff." So Hades says he can't because he had the job, because he is Lord of the Underworld that Zeus bestowed on him, so he can't. He said he would love to, but can't. So Hades, so Zeus takes another job at Hades and says, "Well, you better slow down. You'll work yourself to death." And then he says, "Work yourself to death? I kill myself." Because he's Lord of the Underworld. But Hades doesn't think it's funny. So he thinks he's gonna get his revenge by making Hercules mortal. So he makes his two minions, Pain and Panic, steal Hercules to have him drink the potion. So they get Hercules, and he drinks the potion, but not all of the potion, because a man and a woman show up. When they see Hercules abandoned, they take him in. But caution. Remember when I told you that he drank the potion? Well, he didn't drink all of it, because Hades and Panic got scared of the people coming. So, since he didn't drink all of it, he still has his strength. So, he's in the village with his father, helping him with the groceries, and his father tells him, "Hercules, this time, please." And then Hercules says, I know, stay by the cart." And then his father says, "That's a good boy." And then he pats him on the head, and then he goes to talk to someone. But while Hercules is sitting by a fountain, a frisbee gets tossed to him, and the boys find the frisbee, and Hercules says, "Hey, you need an extra guy?" And then the boy says, "Sorry, Herc, we already got 5 and we want to keep it an even number." And then he takes the disc and says, "See ya, Herc." And then, with that, Hercules is sad again. But he's standing this time, and he sees that, a store owner is having trouble carrying something. So he tries to help him, and he says, "Hey, do you need a hand?" And then, when he notices that it's Hercules, he says, "No, thank you. You just run along. I got it." Because Hercules is super strong. And in his village, he's kind of a klutz. So, the frisbee gets thrown, and then Hercules catches it, and then he bumps into a pole that's holding up the whole village, and then it tumbles down into that guy that owns the pot holding building where they build lots of pots and pans, where they build a lot of pots and pans and vases. Yeah. His store gets destroyed. And then he says to the father, "That's the last straw, Unfetchy That your son is a menace, and he's too dangerous to be around normal people." And the sort of goes too far with this. He says, I'm warning you, you keep that freak away from me." And then the villagers just join in, and and they say, "Yeah, go away, freak." Like, Hercules is dying over here, and he feels so bad, and he feels so humiliated that the town people think that he's a freak. So, um, with with that, Hercules tells his father. Hercules says, "Pop, they're right. I get some blonde hair. I am a freak." And he says, "Sometimes I feel like I just belong somewhere else." And so we get this amazing song sung by Hercules, "Go the Distance." And then when he gets home from singing "Go the Distance," half of it anyway, that's when his mother and father tells him that they found him, and his mother gives him and the mother gives him a sim and the mother gives him the necklace with the symbol of the gods on it. And then Hercules says, "That's it. You see, maybe they have the answers. I will go to the temple of Zeus." And his parents start to look sad, especially his mom and dad. And then Hercules says, "Mom, Pop, you're the greatest parents any kid could have, but I gotta know." So he is off to the temple of Zeus. And then Zeus says, "My boy, my Hercules." And Zeus tells Hercules the only reason that they kept him on Earth is because he was a human, and only gods can live on Mount Olympus. And his dad said he can't do a thing but Hercules can. He must seek out Philoctetes, the trainer of heroes, and then he meets Pegasus, and then Pegasus and him are off to seek out Philoctetes, and then when they seek out Philoctetes, they try to ask him for his help, but he says, "Kid, 2 words, I am retired." So Hercules keeps asking him, and he says, "Haven't you ever had a dream? Something you wanted so bad that you'll do anything?" And then Phil tells him, "Come inside, kid. I want to show you something." And then he says that he trained all those heroes, and they ended up being, and they ended up letting him down. And then there was Achilles, and Phil goes off to explain that Achilles could jab, he could take a hit, he could keep on coming, but he had a bad heel. So he got hit in the heel one day, and he is history. But Hercules tells him that he is different than those other guys, that he could go the distance, and he actually lifts the statue up, and then he tosses it to the sky. And then Phil's impressed, and he says, "Holy Hera, maybe." And then Phil gets a grip on himself, and then he says, "Snap out of it. I'm too old to get mixed up in this stuff again." And then Hercules tells him that if he doesn't become a true hero, he'll never be able to rejoin his father Zeus. And then and then and and then Phil starts making fun of Hercules because he doesn't believe him. And then Hercules said this is the truth. And then we get another song that says that it's up to you from Phil, and he goes on to train Hercules, and 16 years pass by, and Hercules is strong, he is fit, and he is ready to go to Thebes. So they head off to Thebes, but oh no, they hear a damsel in distress, and they see that she is with a manticore, and that she is having a fight with him. So Hercules sees the manticore, and without thinking, he charges in to save her, but he ends up getting punched in the face. And then when Phil says use your head, he ends up using his head to defeat the Minotaur. But honestly, Hercules, that's not what he meant, because he defeated the Minotaur and he put him in the water along with Meg, and he got her out. But he says, "Miss, I'm sorry, that was dumb." And she says, "Yeah." And then he goes off to continue fighting. And then Meg continues drying the water from off her hair. And then she asks Phil, "Is Wonder Boy here real?" And then Phil says, "What are you talking about? Of course he's real." And then he looked at Meg and says, "Whoa, by the way, sweet cheeks, I'm real too." And then my girl Meg tosses him in the water. I'd be like, "Go on, girl. Go on. Go on." She is my favorite character in this movie. Meg does not play. So she tosses Phil in the water, and Hercules ends up defeating the Megator, a man horse, a man horse, part man, part horse. And 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 it's so cute because you can see that Hercules really likes Meg and he really thinks he's pretty. And then Hercules asks her, "How'd you get mixed up with the?" And then Meg says, "Oh, you mean the horse? Well, you know how men are. They think no means yes and get lost means take me on yours. Don't worry, your goat friend over there can explain it to you later." And then she says, "Well, thanks for everything, Hercules. It's been a real slice." And then he offers to give Meg a ride, but Pegasus doesn't like her. And then Hercules says, "Oh, Pegasus? Well, don't be silly, he'll love to." And then Pegasus hits him over the head with an apple. And then Meg says, "Oh, I'll be alright. I'm a big tough girl. I can tie my own sandals and everything." Bye-bye, Wonder Boy. That's his nickname. She gave him a nickname. She named him Wonder Boy, and I love it. And when she leaves, Hercules says, "Oh, she is something." And then Phil says, "Oh yeah, she's something. Really something. She is a really pain in the butt." Earth to Hercules. Come in, Hercules. We have a job to do, remember? The town thief is still waiting. And then keep Meg in your thoughts, okay? In this video, keep Meg in your thoughts. And then Meg is walking in the forest. And then she sees the bunny and a rabbit. And then Meg says, "Oh, how cute. A couple of rodents looking for a theme park." And then they transform into Pain and Panic. And then we find out that she is working for Hades. That Minotaur was supposed to be part of his team for the uprising. But Meg says, "I gave it my best shot, but he made me an offer I had to refuse." And then Hades says, "Well, hey, instead of adding 2 years of your sins on, hey, I'm just gonna add 2 on, okay? You had your best shot." And then Max says, "Hey, it wasn't even my fault, it was this Wonder Boy Hercules." And then Pain and Panic realized that that's the same Hercules that was a baby that they never destroyed. And then Hades gets mad. And then Hades gets mad and says, "So, Pain and Panic, you took care of it. Dead at the door now. Wasn't that your exact words?" And then Pain and Panic tried to justify and say, "Well, this could be a different Hercules." And and then Panic says, "Well, at least we made him mortal. That's a good thing, didn't we? We can still cut in on his Watson." And then and and then and then and then and 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 and, and then Hades says, "Unfortunately for the three of you, we still have time to correct this awful undone. We still have time to correct this awful undone story that we messed up. And this time, no mess ups." So he goes to Thebes, and the people just don't seem to be interested in having him in for a hero. Until you know who shows up. Meg shows up, okay? She shows up. Meg shows up to find Hercules to tell him that two little boys are stuck. To tell him that two little boys are stuck in the gorge, and he finds out that the two little boys are stuck under a rock, and then he lifts the rock off of the little boys and he tosses it away, and then he tells the kids, "Oh, kids, just be a little more careful next time, okay, kids?" And then the kids say, "We sure will." And then one of the kids say, "Jeepers, mister, you're really strong." And then they go run off to Hades, and it turns out that it was Pain and Panic in disguise. And then Meg just got his attention when she ran to go get Hercules. And so Hades says, "Two thumbs up for our leading lady. What a act, what a dish." And so the people actually do end up applauding. But all of a sudden, a big snake comes in, and he ends up attacking Hercules. And Phil is nowhere to be found. This chicken Phil is nowhere to be found. But he is giving him advice. Like, that's it, dance around. And the only thing Phil says, "Watch the teeth, watch the teeth." And Hercules gets eaten by one point, but he cuts off the head, and he tries to cut off the head. And but and he cuts off the head, but when it seems like it's over, because he cut off one head, Pain and Panic get nervous, and Hades tells them, guys, relax, it's only half time. And then we find out that it's a 6-head snake or a 5-head snake. I forget how many heads it is. But anyway, it grows all his heads back. And he keeps slicing heads and slicing heads, but it keeps growing back. And when I rewatched this for this channel, I said the same thing that Phil said. Dude, you see the head is growing back. Would you stop with the head slicing thing? So, he down he slides down the dragon's back, and he tells Phil, I don't think we covered this in basic training. And then it looks like it's all over because Hercules is in the dragon's is in the dragon's clutches. And then Hercules smashes a rock on the dragon with his super strength. And everyone thinks he's gone. But no, he climbed out of that dragon's paw. And he says, Phil, you gotta admit, that was pretty heroic. And then Phil says, you did it, kid. You won by a landslide. And Hades gets so upset that he eats his cigarette that he's smoking in his mouth, and it crumbled onto Pain and Panic. And then we get a montage of Hercules defeating every monster, and then we see Hades just getting more upset and destroying Hercules merchandise from his store. And then he tells Meg to go and handle him as a man. And then we find out that Meg has sworn off of manhandling because Meg actually sold her soul to Hades to save her boyfriend's life. And then he ended up going to be with someone else. And then Meg says, well, and then Hades says, he hurt you real bad, didn't he, Meg? And then Meg says, well, I learned my lesson, okay? And then Hades says, which is why I think you are going to leap when you hear when you hear my final offer. You give me the key to bring down Wonder Breath. He calls Hercules Wonder Breath. And I will give you the key, the thing that you've been craving from the thing that you've been craving in the entire cosmos, your freedom. And then Meg drops the vase that she is holding. Meanwhile, Hercules is having a talk with his father about rejoining the gods, and then and 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 then and and th- and then and and his father tells him, "You're doing wonderfully. You really have, my boy, but I'm afraid just being famous isn't the same as being a true hero." And Hercules says, "But father, I have beaten every monster I come up against. I'm 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 an action figure." And then and 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 then and then and then he and then her and then and and then Hercules holds up the action figure, and but his father tells him, "Son, being famous isn't the same as being a true hero." And then Hercules says, "Well, what more can I do?" And then his father says, "It's something you have to discover for yourself. Look inside your heart." And then his father goes away and turns back into a normal statue instead of a talking statue. So he gets mad and hits the ground with his fist, and then Pegasus Pegasus gives him a hug. Well, he doesn't give him a hug, but he stays right by him. So, meanwhile, Hercules is posing for a painter. So he is painting the pot. He 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 so he is painting this pot, and Hercules is wearing a scar rug on his head. I'm not lying. He is wearing a scar rug on his head, and that was a really cool Easter egg to put in the movie. And Hercules says, Phil, when he lists all the stuff that he's gonna do today, he says, "Phil, what's the point?" And then Phil says, "What do you mean, what's the point? You want to go to Olympus, don't you?" And Hercules says, "Yes, but he..." And Hercules says, "Yes, but all this stuff doesn't seem to be getting me anywhere." And then Phil tells him, "Kid, you got something I've never seen before. There is nothing you can't do, kid." And it's a very, very sweet moment when the girls come in and they full on tackle Hercules, and seriously, they're stepping on his face, taking his sweatband, and the girls are acting happy like, "I got a sweatband." And Hercules says, "Phil, help, help." And then and then and then and then and and then Phil says, "Escape plan data." And then Hercules says, "Gotcha." And then Phil opens the door and says, "There he is on the veranda." And we find out that Hercules was behind the curtain the whole time because Meg comes in and says, "Let's see what can be behind curtain number one." And then Meg and then Meg says, "Don't worry, you're free." All the teenager all all the teenager girls are gone. And then and 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 and, and then Hercules says, "Oh Meg, it's so good to see you. I've missed you." And then Meg starts playing around with his stuff and saying, "So this is what heroes do on their days off, huh?" Yeah. And then Hercules says, "Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I can't go anywhere without being mugged." And and then and 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 then and then Meg says, "Oh, it sounds like you can use a break. Do you think your nanny You think your nanny will go berserk if you play hooky this afternoon?" And then Hercules says, "I don't know. Phil's got the rest of the day pretty much booked, and 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 then and and then and then Meg says, "Phil, smell. You lift up the back wall, we go around the dung mills, and then we're gone." So they end up spending time together, and and it turned out that Pan and Panic are disguised as birds, and then they tell her to quit fooling around to get the goods. So Meg pretends to faint, and she says that she has a weak ankle, and she asks Hercules if he has a weak ankle, and then Hercules says, "No, I think I'm fit as a fiddle." And then and 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 and, and then Meg tells him, "Wonder Boy, you are perfect." And then he messes up his statue, but then Meg looks at it and says, "It looks better that way." No, it really does. So this is when Hercules tells her, "You know, when I was a kid, I would get anything to be like everyone else." And then Meg tells him, "You wanted to be petty and dishonest." And then Hercules says, "Everyone's not like that." And then Meg says, "Oh, yes, they are." And then Hercules says, "You're not like that." And then Meg says, "How do you know what I'm like?" And then we had this sweet moment where where her where where Hercules says, "Meg, whenever I'm with you, I don't feel so alone." And then Meg gets poked by a cupid. Meg gets poked by a cupid statue. And then Meg says, "Well, it's better to be alone. Well, no, that way nobody can hurt you." And Hercules tells Meg that he would never hurt her, and they almost kiss, but Phil interrupts. They almost kiss, but a spotlight shines on them, and it turns out that it's Phil and Pegasus. And then Phil says, "All right, party's over. Move it, move it, move it. I've been looking all over this town." And then Meg says, "Calm down, mountain man. It was all my fault." And 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 then and 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 then Phil says, "You're already on my list, sister, so don't make it worse." And then he pulls Hercules and he says, "As for you, you bum, you're gonna go to the stadium and you're gonna put in the workout of your life. Now get on the horse." And Pegasus, Pegasus even gives Meg a little attitude, but Meg gives him an attitude right back, and then Meg said she's sorry, but Hercules says, "Oh, he'll get over it." And then he gives her a little kiss on the cheek and a flower. And then we get the song, "I Won't Say I'm in Love." And then she talks to Hades about how he doesn't have any weaknesses and how Meg's not gonna help help Hades hurt Hercules because he's a good guy and he's honest and sweet, and that he will never do anything to hurt her, and that he has no weaknesses. Meanwhile, Phil got put out. Phil flew off of Hercules and he bumped his head. So while he's rubbing his head, he hears Meg and Hades talking, but Phil doesn't hear the whole conversation. So when he goes back to tell Hercules, Hercules doesn't believe him, and Phil actually tells Hercules that even though you love Meg, she doesn't love you. She is playing you for a sap. And then Hercules says, "Oh, come on, I know you're so mad about today, but that's no reason to." And then because he's so happy, he keeps interrupting Phil by saying, "A dream come true, beautiful than Aphrodite." And then Phil tells Hercules that she's a fraud, she's playing you for a sap. And then Hercules gets so mad that he hits Phil across the stadium and he bumps into chains. And then he gets the chain off of him and he says, "Fine, you don't want to face the truth? Fine." And then he walks out and he says, "I'm going home." When Hercules asks, "Well, where are you going?" And then Phil says, "I'm hopping on the next train out and I'm going home." And then Hercules says, "Fine, go, I don't need you." And then he gets caught by Hades. and then and and then and 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 and, and then and and then Hercules went and 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 and, and then Hercules went and then Hercules tried to walk away from Hades because he says you're out of your mind. Once he tells him he has to give up his shrimp. And then he says, not so fast because I got a little leverage you might want to know about. So he brings up Meg tied up. And then Meg says, don't listen to him. But before she could get the words out of her mouth, Hades ties her up. And then Hercules says, let her go. And then Hercules agrees to give up his strength. And then Hades tells him that Meg has been working for him all the time. And Meg tries to explain, but Hades, but our boy Hercules is just too sad to talk to her right now. He's like too humiliated. He lost his strength. He lost his powers, and Pain and Panic are picking on him too. And then Hades leaves and says, "I got a whole planet to rule with my name on it." So he takes over Olympus, but just for a moment, cause our boy Hercules has got his strength back. Phil's back into the picture, but let me tell you why. Because when Hades when Hades locked up all the when Hades locked up all the Titans in the bolt, Hades set them free. So when Zeus locked up all the Titans in a bolt, Hades set them free, and he said, "Brother Titans, now that I set you free, what is the first thing you're gonna do?" And they say, "Destroy Zeus, freeze him, blow him away, you know." And then we get to Thebes, the townspeople, and they are being destroyed by a cyclops. All the people are hiding, and they are saying, "Where is Hercules? Yeah, Hercules will save us." And then Hercules goes out there, but Meg stops him and says, "What are you doing? Without your shrimp, you'll be killed." And he says, "Well, there are worse things." So he laughs at Hercules, push Hercules down, but Meg to the rescue, cause she gets Pegasus. She finds Phil, and 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 then and 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 went and then Meg says, "Look, Phil, I know what I did was wrong, but it's not about me, it's about him. If you don't help him fight that Cyclops, he'll die." And then Phil goes back to talk to Hercules, but Hercules already feels like he's been defeated because he looks at Meg and he says, "You were right all along, Phil. Dreams are for rookies." And then Phil says, "No, kid. Giving up is for rookies. I'm willing to go the distance. How about you?" So Hercules actually tied the Cyclops up, and he actually pushes the Cyclops off of the ledge. Using his powers and using fire, he actually hits the Cyclops in the eye, tie the Cyclops up using his human strength, and the Cyclops ends up falling off a cliff. But hold on, a beam ends up falling off slightly, and Meg says, "Hercules, look out!" And then when Meg gets crushed, he lifts the beam up because he promised Hercules Meg will not get hurt. She will be safe from harm. But she got hurt but, but since Hades broke his deal, Meg got hurt and Hercules got his strength, and Hercules asks, "Well, Meg, why did you?" And then Meg says, "People do crazy things when they're in love." And then Phil tells Hercules, "I'll watch over your kid." And 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 then Meg tells Hercules, "You haven't got much time. You could still stop Hades." So he gets on Pegasus and he rescues his dad and all the other goddesses. But Hades isn't done. Oh no. He says, "Perfect time, Wonder Boy, but I still got but I still got one count perfect." And Hades says, "Perfect time, Wonder Boy, but I still got one consolation prize. A friend of yours who is dying to see me." And then and then and 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 then he says, "Meg." And then we see and 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 then and and then we see the ladies of the underworld cut a thread, and that is Meg's life. So Hercules gets there and he starts to cry, and then he starts to cry because Meg is gone. And then Phil says, "I'm sorry, kid. There are some things you just can't change." And then Hercules says, "Yes, I can." So he goes to Hades, who is so upset because they were so close, because and 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 and, and he said, "We were so close. We were so close. We tripped the finish line. Why? Because our little nutmeg had to go on noble." And then Hercules showed up, and Hercules says, "Where is Meg?" And then he shows him Meg, and it turns out that Meg is a lost soul. Now, I have a question at the end here. And I don't know if you guys know this, but just humor me when I tell you what happened, okay? So, he tells Hercules, if you get her out, she goes. If you get her out, she can go. You can say, because Hercules said, you like making deals, take me and Meg's place. And then he thinks about it. And then Hercules says, going once, going twice. And then Hades says, okay, you get her out. She goes, you say. So he gets her out, no problem. And he's a god now. And Hades forgot to tell him that he will be dead before he even gets to it. But he's a god now, so his string of life glows orange because he's a god. But my one question is, don't, when you make a bargain, you have to agree to that bargain, because he agreed to stay. He agreed to stay in the underworld, but then when he tried to talk to her, Hercules, Hercules punches his face in, and then Hades says, okay, I deserve that. But Meg, and he takes Meg's spiritual face, and he says, Meg, talk to him a little smooth. And then when Hercules has enough, he pushes Hades into the into the Lost Souls River. And then Panic says, oh, he's not gonna be happy once he gets out of there. And then Pain says, you mean if he gets out of there? And 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 the, and then Panic says, if is good. So he returns. So he returns Meg's spirit back to her body, and Meg asks him, Wonder Boy, why did you? And Hercules says, people do crazy things in their love, and then they're about to kiss, but a cloud carries them off into Olympus, and they all celebrate because Hercules saved their lives. And at last, he gets to come home, but then he changes his mind to be with Meg. And then at the end, the goddesses put a star into the sky, making Hercules. And then everyone says, hey, that's Phil's boy. So everyone's dreams come true. And his mom and his dad come to see the star statue. And then Phil begins to cry because people start saying, hey, that's Phil boy. Hey, Pete. And then Phil starts to cry because his dreams come true. Because he always wanted a statue of the hero of the hero he was training to be in the stars. So he starts to cry, and Meg and Hercules kiss, and it's a big celebration. And we get the best last song, A Star Is Born, from the goddesses. And it's a big celebration, and that is the end of the movie. Bye, and see you guys in my next video.